designation because the census boundaries have been moved. So there's two spots. And unfortunately, it is Kauai Harbor is one of them, and that little sliver about the center that is not eligible. The rest of the zone would be redesignated as it is and has been. And just to go over the benefits again, and thank you very much, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, Jane, so much for explaining all of that to us. It's a great tool to have in our quiver. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Richards since he put this communication forward.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, Jane, I really appreciate you being here to explain this. A little bit confusing if you're not aware of the program coming forward, but this is stacking up into all of the things that we as a council are trying to get done for our county going forward. And Jane and I have met and talked story about this. It's a little puzzling to me, the area that we're not going to be able to redesignate, and that's not something that's out of our control. I'm kind of disappointed that we can't do the Kawaihae Harbor economic area, the industrial, light industrial, whatever you want to call it, because that, to me, is a logical place for this to occur. And we have yet to get a real good explanation of why that's not being designated. That being said, the reason this is coming up for designation, we're at the end of the 20 years. And as Jane just pointed out, 2015 is when the other four were named. This one is coming up at the end, and I've got to think it's got to go back probably after struggling times with the closure of Kohala Sugar and trying to encourage economic growth in there. So I am a big supporter of this. I think this is something that's going to be continuing to be beneficial for the greater area there. And the maps are a little weird. I'm still trying to puzzle in why they are the way they are, but that's the way they are. So I'm going to ask for my, well, actually, when we get to the next piece of legislation. So this is a great time to ask questions about this. Essentially what we're talking about, you saw the benefits with the program. It's to stimulate economic growth, not just for a short term, but in perpetuity. And the thing I like about this is they work really hard to keep little businesses up and running and help out with that. So with that, Chair, I'm going to turn it back over and let my colleagues ask questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Richards. Ms. Poindexter.
Yeah. So on the enterprise zone, the same thing, Jane. It's still where even if you have a business outside of the zone itself, but where your mail is delivered is in the zone, they qualify.
Okay. I want to correct that a little bit.
Okay.
What it is where the point of sale occurs. It's not where you pasture your cows. So if you pasture your cows outside of the zone, but you're selling your cow from inside the zone, the transaction of the company is inside the zone,
Yeah.
then it qualifies as
Because that's important to know.
right.
Because there's a lot of people along my coastline, because we went through this several years ago, where they weren't in the zone, but because of where they were doing their point of sale, which
Yes.
happened to be at the post office,
Okay.
Invoicing,
Yeah.
non-invoicing, whatever. So I just want the public to know that. So there are different loopholes, I would call it. I don't know if you could call it a loophole, but an opportunity, I would say.
Yes.
Other opportunities if you don't, for some reason, because of the census, because the zones are based off a census, correct?
Yes. Those
So-
are
Right.
of designated areas.
Right.
Yes.
And so if the census people didn't participate well enough in the census, then they weren't afforded the zone.
Mhm.
So, but still know that they may need this opportunity. So there is a way to do it, which is
Yes.
through this avenue. So thank you
through-
for
yes,
clarifying that. Thank
through
you.
a point where the point of sale
Sale
occurs.
is, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Ms. Poindexter. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Horike on this program? I just have a few questions, and I'm going to be very cognizant of time. You want me to go first?
That's fine, your chair. I just
Oh,
have
okay.
one quick question.
Thank you, Jane. Just PSA out there to everyone, when you get the census, please take it, because it's very important that we get our fair share of federal funding. And these enterprise zones were developed with census data, so important for folks to participate. I'm just curious, after the upcoming census is complete, will these enterprise zone boundaries be redrawn to reflect the low moderate income?
It, if we do that, I would have to expand zones. However, if it's designated, if it's already a designated zone and the census, the numbers change, it will be grandfathered in for a period of 20 years. However, if it is an area that could be in the zone because of the new census boundaries, I would have to go through the process of coming before you again and expanding a particular zone and saying, okay, this particular area now can encompass this additional area, and and you would be the ones to designate that particular area.
Okay, that's helpful to know. So we could
Okay.
expand, but potentially retract in some areas based
Yes.
on the data. Great.
Yes.
Thank you, Jane.